If you create content and publish it to social media or YouTube, which I'm guessing you probably do, then this video is for you. I previously managed a successful creator business for 6 years, and I oversaw content teams that broadcast thousands of podcasts and hundreds of videos. I've also personally built up some healthy followings on Instagram and LinkedIn. All of this was helped by new production methods. But since 2022, AI has significantly changed the game. There are now hundreds of viable AI tools that can help creators with their workflows, but making sense of them all and selecting the right ones is still a bit tricky. Fortunately, we've researched and tested the best AI tools currently available, so you don't really have to. In this video, I want to show you the 18 best AI tools that can help creators, and also show you a process that makes them most effective in production workflows. So by the end of this, you should be a full stack creator that can use AI most effectively. The first thing is that there is no one killer AI tool for content production, particularly if you're making video. ChatGPT and Midjourney have probably had the biggest impact for creators so far, but they're both not completely perfect and they both come at a cost. AI is a general purpose technology that can help in lots of different ways, while there are lots of specific tools that do very specific things. Video is the most complex of these, and all major social platforms, including LinkedIn, now make video a priority in their algorithm. Some platforms, like YouTube and TikTok, are pretty much entirely video. So I created a workflow that is best for video, but also includes text, image, editing, sound, and social media distribution. If you only produce text or podcasts, or you're a social media manager, don't worry, this will still be useful. When thinking of producing video, I like to follow a 6-step process. It starts with research and writing. Then it moves on to production. After we've shot our video, we might want to generate some assets like images and video. So that's the 3rd step. Next is to edit what we've got so far into a timeline. The 5th step is to add sound and make adjustments. And the final step is to distribute the content that we've created. We'll start with research and writing. For this first step, you basically need a chatbot. The most commonly used ones are ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, and Claude. They all have their strengths and weaknesses, but what you really select is down to personal preference. Claude is particularly popular amongst coders, and some people say it's the best chatbot for writing, but it doesn't quite have the other advantages that ChatGPT and Gemini have for creators, so I'm not going to cover it in any detail. Google's Gemini is the best if you use Google's tools like Drive and Google Docs. Lots of people might disagree with me, and that's fine. I actually often switch between Gemini and ChatGPT depending on what I'm doing. Why I like Gemini is that it interacts with Google Drive. So if you have content already on Google Drive, you can prompt Gemini to bring it up or summarize it. That's cool. Secondly, if you use Google Docs for writing, like me, you can prompt directly into your document. That's also pretty handy. Gemini has features like deep research and powerful image generation directly in its interface, while its video generator VO is the best available, although that's really only accessible if you're prepared to pay big bucks. ChatGPT is by far the most used chatbot, with about 60% market share. Given there's a free version, it's the best writing and research tool to use if you're just starting out. Although you won't have access to some of its best features like deep research, for which you need to be on the Plus plan, and you get 10 queries per month. Also, image generations are a bit limited on the free plan, so if you're going to use it a lot, it's worth paying for. It's got to be said, after the March 2025 image release, the image generator is really best in class. It's a massive upgrade, and can now also generate pretty good and mostly accurate text. It has a couple of drawbacks though. The first is that it's a bit slow. Gemini and Midjourney are both much faster image generators. It also doesn't have multi-version outputs like Midjourney, which I'll get onto. And it's got more limited prompt control. Sora, OpenAI's video generator, is similarly only available on the Pro plan, which is more than $200 a month. We'll use a couple of other tools for video generating. We don't really need to get into too much detail on how to use chatbots in this video, because we've already got a guide for that. But basically, everything works on a prompt. You can use it to come up with content ideas, do quick research, or write part of your script. There are a couple of other things to be aware of though. Chatbots are not great at writing anything particularly long. The script for this video contains over 4,500 words of text. That's too long for any chatbot to really handle currently. Also, you need to have a pretty detailed prompt for chatbots to really match your writing style and get the tone right, so we don't really recommend using them to create finished drafts. But as research assistants, both Gemini and ChatGPT are so much better than digging around on Google and Wikipedia for information. Well, they can speed up the writing process, but they're definitely not the finished article for writing, in my opinion. Also, while they've got a lot better recently, they can still occasionally hallucinate, so don't take what they provide verbatim, particularly if you're covering off something quite niche. The key is to use chatbots as assistants. If you use them well, they'll dramatically cut down the time spent researching and writing. Not every creator needs a script, and that's fine too. I like refining a script and reading off an autocue. That's just how I work. Now there's another tool I recommend in the research phase, and that's 11 Reader by 11 Labs. Basically, this can convert any text document into an audio file, read out by a pretty good sounding AI of your choice. A lot of research goes into our videos, and I also like to listen to the script through before shooting. 11 Reader can do this. Just think, you can now use deep research via ChatGPT or Gemini and stick that straight into 11 Reader. Now you're doing research as you walk about. It's a great combination. Now you've done your research and writing, the next part is putting this into production, the bit where you have to sit in front of a camera and actually speak. I've got a few tools that come in handy here. The first is Nvidia Broadcast. This is free streaming software and it's great if you're doing something lo-fi like presenting from a webcam. But you need a pretty powerful PC, not a Mac, for it to work, and a pretty powerful graphics card and 8GB of RAM. But if you do have a high-spec PC, then it has some pretty powerful and easy to use features. The first is eye correction. You technically don't even need an autocue if you're using Nvidia Broadcast, so you could just read a script from your computer screen. Although, I've got to say, eye correction can look a little weird at times. Another feature is you can change the background to something else in real time. Like this. Although, if I think you're doing anything a bit more polished, you probably want to get a better solution like a green screen. Although, I've got another tool for that. Nvidia Broadcast has also got a sound correction feature built in for any environment with a bit of annoying background noise. The next tool I recommend in production is the only bit of hardware in this list, the Elgato Prompter. This is absolutely the best autocue for creators because it's lightweight, easily compatible with your computer, and it has an AI-powered feature to scroll the text as you're speaking. This is a game changer as you don't need anyone else to help you operate your autocue. Of course, all hardware comes at a price, and this bit of kit is $280 in the US and the same in pounds in the UK. But if you don't want to spend much money, I've got another solution. PromptSmart Pro on smartphones does a similar thing. You can shoot on your back phone camera and have the AI-powered autocue on screen. The pricing for these apps can change around a bit, so I'll just stick that in the description. Now, if you don't like presenting to camera, then I wonder why you'd want to be a creator, but there's actually a solution for that. You can use an avatar generator like HeyGen or Synthesia to create a digital twin of yourself, then let that do the talking.
Hello, this is absolutely agentic.
Both of these tools are pretty comparable in their outputs and pricing, and you can trial them and set up your avatar for free. We've got a whole other video on how to set up your perfect avatar too. I don't really recommend using avatars for longer videos. You can only download short videos at the cheaper plans. Second, with longer videos for YouTube, you're trying to make a personal connection with your audience, and avatar videos can come across as a bit robotic over a couple of minutes of one talking at you.
Hello, this is absolutely agentic.
But where they do come in handy is for shorter vertical videos. I've published quite a few avatar videos to LinkedIn, and some people have asked me if I was actually using an avatar. So they can be pretty effective. They're also pretty useful for post-production fixes. Let's say you've shot a video but something has gone wrong for a small part of it. If you don't have a permanent creator set up, then setting it all up again for one short take is a pain no one wants to go through, especially me. But if you created a digital twin with the same outfit and backdrop, then you could get away with using that for a short clip.
Hello, this is absolutely agentic.
So you can use these AI tools to effectively correct mistakes. We all make them, and they're also handy if you want to present a lot of vertical clips but don't want to shoot all of them. But I don't recommend using them for anything much longer than a minute. One way or another, we've shot our video presented to the camera and needs some accompanying assets. I suggest doing some asset research in the first phase, but I find that until I've done the recording and put it on the editing timeline, I never get the full picture. Now that I have, I want to create some additional images and video. I don't think AI replaces standard or stock imagery and video. Stock libraries like Envato are massive, and they pretty much have clips for every search that you can think of. Just think of this example, like if you want to find a bit of footage of an aeroplane taking off, then a stock library is going to get you there much faster than trying to generate something on like Runway or even Google's VO3. And so just think in that context, like if you can get something realistically like quite quickly, then you should probably just use something like Envato as a stock library. But for something a bit different, creative generative AI can work perfectly. We used a fair bit of generative AI in our earlier video, How AI Could End Humanity. There's a couple of clips from that from Midjourney and Runway. But there's also a few issues around using stock footage. The first is sometimes the stock stuff can just look a bit crappy. I don't tend to use stock images, but I use a lot of video. I guess the main thing to consider with Gen AI image and video generation is, do you really need this? It really depends on what you're creating. By and large, if you're trying to represent something in modern life, then stock libraries can work perfectly well. But a major benefit of generative AI is that it can create new worlds or scenes. You can have a pink elephant walking in the savannah, or have yourself remixed as a cartoon character. I found image and video generation tools very useful for showing historical scenes, say from 1,000 years ago. There's obviously no photos, but there is relatively little art as well. So generative AI tools can help a lot with something like this. So used wisely, these tools can be awesome. I guess the next question I need to answer is, if Gemini and ChatGPT pay plans include image and video generation, then what's the point in having other subscriptions? I think the main thing's cost. VO and Sora are pretty expensive, like over $100 or $200 in Sora's case. So you need to use it a lot and be pretty serious to get the best out of them. Whereas you might want to be a bit more casual and get a cheaper subscription, and Midjourney and Runway do that really well. I also don't think the ChatGPT free plan is really up for doing a lot of image generation, so that's particularly important when you're creating videos. Midjourney is great because you can iterate images really quickly. Now, Midjourney released version 7 in April 2025, and I've been using it ever since. Prior to that, I'd actually cancelled my Midjourney subscription because I thought, well, what's the point if Gemini and ChatGPT have got so good? But now I actually think Midjourney is a lot better. It's got a better range of artistic styles, and I like the advanced prompting and editing features. There's just more flexibility. It also creates 4 generations per prompt, which helps a lot when iterating images. It's also really cheap on the creator plan at $10 a month. Now, there's a small downside in that it has no API, so you can't put it in workflow automations like NA10 or Make. That's hardly the end of the world for creators though, and I still prefer its generation, speed and options. We've got another guide on how to use it, so make sure you check that out. If you use Adobe, I prefer using Photoshop for touch-ups rather than the inbuilt tools in things like Midjourney. Photoshop also has some really useful Gen AI features like remove background, and it's great for text handling. So if you're doing things like making thumbnails, then Midjourney into Photoshop is a great combination. For generative video, I'm going to go with Runway. Since it upgraded to Gen 4, its outputs are at least comparable to Sora and Google VO, while it's cheaper and easier to access. The basic plan is just $15 a month. Now, you don't get a huge amount of generations for that, but they're still really accessible versus something like Sora, which is $200. There's a big advantage over Midjourney as a video generator in that you can export at 4K for a low price, so no upscaling is necessary. Generative video is best when it's combined with an image prompt. I don't recommend just going text to video. A picture paints 1,000 words, as they say, and by using Midjourney first, you can really help build your composition and experiment with your shot. The other cool thing about Runway is that it has a lot of other tools built in. Technically, you can use its built-in image generator in the app if you prefer that to Midjourney. Its editor is browser-based, and there can be a bit of a lag, so I still prefer to use Premiere. Now, its green screen feature is one of the most helpful AI video tools available. A few other tools like CapCut now have this feature, but having it in the same app as a powerful video generator is really useful, and you can export at 4K. It can make the physical green screen seem a bit redundant. After Effects keying and rotoscoping is comparatively fiddly and generally takes longer. Instead, you can just select yourself in the composition and separate yourself from the background. That's really cool. Lastly, Runway has a great community with grants and meetups. It's really good for the more serious generative AI filmmaker, so if you're thinking of going feature length with your creations, then Runway is a great tool to use. Both Midjourney and Runway now allow high resolution exports, so putting them into a video project is straightforward. But sometimes you might want to use sourced images or footage that has a lower resolution, say if you're using historical footage or you've been provided a low resolution picture of someone. The video upscaler of choice is Topaz Labs. It's pretty expensive, but you can do a lot with it. If you found a great image you want, but it's too small for video, then it can upscale it pretty easily. It can do the same for video too, even if that takes a while. However, because of its cost, I'd only say it's worth it if you're very serious and doing a lot of upscaling. One tool that is at the top of this list in terms of how much I use it is Firecut. Every creator's biggest time cost is going to be editing. You can outsource it, but not everyone has the cash to do that. And I've never been as impressed with the detail as if I go into the timeline myself. Maybe I'm too much of a perfectionist. But Firecut makes editing so much easier. It's a Premiere plugin that comes in at a pretty hefty $40 a month after tax. But if you do a lot of editing, like I do, particularly for social media, then you need this tool in your life and suck up the cost. It will pay you back very quickly. I mainly use it for captions. The transcription is super accurate, user-friendly, and the deployment is fast. Meanwhile, because it's in Premiere, the appearance options are very customizable. It also has a load of other features for editing your track, and after testing it out on this video, I'm pleased to say they actually work. Mostly. The first one is to remove silences. You don't want to be spending time cutting back parts that should obviously be removed. Repetitions and filler words also. You don't need them. There's also add chapters, and you can automatically place B-roll. Getting AI to place B-roll sounds great, but you might think this is too good to be true. And it is a bit. I haven't had much success using the AI to place my B-roll. But it's still a good feature because you can also search and select B-roll inside Premiere. Yeah, some other tools do that too, but not many also offer the range of other AI features. It can also reformat videos through finding highlights and adding chapters. If you don't use Premiere, then don't fear. There's also a slightly cheaper web version of this tool. The next recommendation is Autopod. This is pretty revolutionary if you film interviews or podcasts with multi-camera setups. Cutting these to when people speaking was once the biggest time sap in the history of editing. But with Autopod, it's not anymore. It can basically automate this entire process, meaning you can make a rough first cut of an interview super quickly. I've seen a few posts and comments on social media say that it doesn't get nuances, or worse still, it takes longer to fix its mistakes than just doing the edit yourself. But this doesn't match my experience and the first-hand feedback I've heard from other editors using the tool. Yes, it's not going to be 100% accurate every time, but let's face it, most filmed interviews are not going to win an Oscar. You don't need to over-perfect them, and Autopod gives you a first cut fast. You can always give them a tweak later. The alternative is spending literally a whole day just editing a multi-track timeline just to show the speaker. This is just not really a viable option anymore when you can use AI to do it so much faster. I wish there was an AI tool that could just fix all my sound for me. People say sound editing is as valuable as visual editing, and in feature films I definitely agree. In factual documentaries I partially agree. Presenting to camera for YouTube, not so much. But whatever your preference of sound editing, I've got a few tools and preferences that are useful. I don't really find AI music generators that useful for creators. Stock libraries like Envato or Motion Array already have tons of music tracks and sound effects. There's also Artlist, Epidemic Sound and Stock Music Net, which is free. The list goes on. If you're an AI enthusiast, then by all means check out Udio and Suno, but I don't see much point in using them for creator workflows. The best single sound generation tool going is 11 Labs, particularly for voiceover. A bit like avatars, I don't think these really replace the real thing, but they can get you out of tight spots. They're great for shorts and clips, and they could be used in documentary style voiceover outside the main voiceover. 11 Labs also has a voice cloning feature which can get a near perfect match to your voice. For example, this is cloned, and this is my normal voice. There's not really that much difference. It does take quite a bit of training material to get it right though, and it won't be straightforward getting more than yourself voice cloned. Many people are understandably reluctant to have their voice cloned if they're working for a company, just as people are uneasy about making an avatar. A voice clone can be used in a video track if you don't want to or can't go through the process of recording parts of your voiceover again. 11 Labs also has some other generative features, like sound effects. Are these better than using a stock library? Not hugely, but they can definitely give you more flexibility. This section is about sound, and while it's primarily a tool for podcasters, Descript is really one of the best tools on this list. It does a few things really well. The first is its transcription is lightning fast and accurate, and rather than editing in the timeline, you can edit from the transcript. Adobe has this feature too, but it's not nearly as good a user experience, often because the transcript is not as close a match to the original audio. Descript also gives you voice cloning, so if you have a fluff or you want to say something else, you can type in what you want to say and the AI will fix it for you. This is such a good feature to avoid re-recording. Probably the best feature is this Underlord one. This is basically an AI editing agent that's quite similar to the features in Firecut. You can remove retakes quickly, cut down gaps, and enhance a bad recording into studio sound. It also has a few editing features for video. Things like eye correction and background adjustments are part of the package. If you're doing podcast recordings with video, then Descript with Autopod is a winning combination. But I like the transcription element of Descript so much that it's hard not to have a subscription anyway. I mentioned that Descript had an enhanced speech function, and 11 Labs does as well. I think Descript is a bit better, and both are accessible on the free version. This functionality is also available in Adobe now too, and it can work wonders on audio that has recording problems, but you can actually access this feature entirely for free via Adobe at Enhance Speech. You don't even need a login. Just upload your audio and you can get a cleaned up version. This really can remove one of the jobs editors hate, but it still must be said that getting a good setup is worth the effort in the first place. AI speech and sound enhancement can sort a lot of problems out, but it won't fix everything, and some recordings can still come out worse than when you upload. So as with any AI tool, use it as an assistant, not something that replaces a sensible setup in the first place. The last section I want to focus on is distribution. Once you've got your final versions of your long form edits, what else have you got to do? Well, producing the thing is all well and good, but you've got to promote it as well. Probably the best way to do this is to clip up your video into vertical shorts, then distribute these onto your favourite platforms. Opus Clip is the single best AI tool for doing this, although Firecut does have this feature in beta now too. Opus works by reviewing your video and then making recommendations of what to clip up, complete with accompanying social posts. You can also post directly to your social platform of choosing from the app. So in a social media world dominated by vertical video, Opus Clip is extremely useful for getting your bigger YouTube and podcast content seen elsewhere. It's another slightly pricier platform, but let's face it, you don't want to be spending time resizing all your clips in Premiere. Paying a little extra for AI to do this for you will make you a lot more productive. The last tool I mentioned is really optional. It's called Submagic, and it's a good web-based tool for creating social media subtitles. It's a good option if you're not going to get Firecut or Opus Clip, but if you have either of these, you don't really need Submagic as well. It's a bit cheaper, so if you only want to subtitle social video and have no other tools on this list, then Submagic is worth a look. So that's it. We've gone through the best AI tools for creators, in my opinion. I think if you're producing content of any kind, then there really is something for everyone in here. But I've mentioned a lot of tools, and if I had to pick 6, or one for each step of the process, which ones would I choose? I think I can get through this pretty quickly. Number 1, just pick ChatGPT or Gemini, depending on whether you use Google tools, and get the paid version. You won't regret it. For production, I'll go with the Elgato Prompter. For assets, Runway. I've already got an image generator in my chatbot of choice, but it's harder to get good gen video. For editing, I'll pick Firecut. It just saves so much time. For sound, I'll go with Descript, because voice cloning and transcript editing is included. It's hard to say no to 11 Labs though, so if I could drop anything, I'd pick that too. Lastly, I'll go for Opus Clip, but that said, I might not need it if Firecut's clipping functionality gets better. Although, it's really useful to have a social media scheduler in the same app you've made the clips in. So that really is it now. The 18 best AI tools for content creators with a shortlist. Now, I still think it's important to have a human in the loop at all stages, and I don't recommend trying to automate all of this, but a bit of automation here and there can help you out a lot. These tools can save you serious time, and if you're a serious creator, then time equals money. So get some of these tools, use them regularly, and you'll be a lot more productive. Thanks for watching, everyone. Further explanations on these tools are available in the links in the description. And if you like this video and want to get more out of AI, then like the video, leave us a friendly comment, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. See you next time. It will be absolutely agentic.